Welcome to Journey Through the Gate, Paranormal Portal Podcast, as we delve into the many questions and wonders brought on by the supernatural experience. What's on the other side of the gate? Let's find out together. Happy New Year, everybody. I've got my, and I'm not muted. First time. How about that? Look at that. Not muted. Happy New Year. Let that be a prediction for the year to come. I hope I'm 5'5", and there is Sir Brian and the wonderful Lindsay and Renice. Hello, hello. Fast Hemi. Hello, darling. How are you? Linda, how are you doing? Hello, Journey Through the Gate. That's me. Hello, how you doing? Oh gosh. I hope everybody's new year is just doing great. I was thinking about what to do tonight, and what's Sir Brian saying? Hello, darling, Mr. Bowden. So that's because some February will be another lockdown. Yeah, I've heard that. So stock up. What's worse that can happen if you get some extra beans and some rice and stuff like that, and some canned goods that last for a good long time, way past their best by date, just so you know, as long as they're not dented or rusty, or store them sitting up, especially those pull tab ones. You want that sitting up in a temperature regulated place. Don't go stocking everything up in your attic, that kind of stuff. Be ready. Yeah, there's a lot of weird stuff out there. I bet you everybody's got predictions for the year that's coming up. You guys can hear me okay, right? Throwing bacon at me. I guess you can hear me. And the pew-pews, yeah, the pew-pews. Yeah, and the cat food and dog food and canary food and hamster niblets and rabbit munchies and everything else. Don't forget the babies. That's one thing I keep cases, So, Facebook saying be ready to start live video at 8 p.m. Well, you're 5 minutes behind there, Facebook, but thank you so much. But yeah, hey, Glenn. Yeah, that's true. I'm with you, Glenn. Hey, Sarah, welcome. Hey, Donnie, how you doing? Uncommon Belief, thank you so much. Thank you to all the mods that are here now. This year for the mods, I'm thinking a couple little things. If you guys have ideas, DM me. Nobody emailed me about the movie. I know we're thinking about, we're talking about the Ravine. Did anybody get to see it? Lynn, did you finish the Ravine? Again, it's on YouTube. It's on Amazon Prime, and I have not seen Ted in a week. Has anybody seen Ted? If you see him, send him our love. Hope everybody's out there. It's great. Yeah, the movies were great. She watched both of them. Thanks, Linda. They were, right? Were you not surprised at the Ravine and how it, played out? Hey, Vixen Doe, welcome. Something else. Absolutely. Yep. They were absolutely fantastic. I love to come up with that free stuff for you guys, just to be out there and see it. Yeah, and Renice watched it. It was good. Weren't you surprised at the end? I haven't seen him, Glenn. If anybody sees him in any of the chats or anything, send Ted our love and tell him we're thinking about him. I'm hoping everything's going okay out there. I know sometimes they lose power and internet and stuff, and he can't be out there. But if you see him, tell him we were thinking about him. If not popping in tonight, maybe he'll pop in tomorrow night. So what we're doing is, as you can tell, oh, you did get to see it. Oh, I'm so glad, Lindsay. I know, right? Thought-provoking. Huge. I mean, was that just not a blessing sent in? I asked the guides, I said, send me something. Hey, Julie Van, welcome everybody in here. So I started to say and I'm so glad those that got to see it. If you didn't get to see it, we were talking about the movie The Ravine, and the other one was Beyond Tomorrow, which was from 1940. They really got it right. Loved ones coming around. Oh, Sir Bowden, you got to see The Ravine. It's free on YouTube. Watch it. You'll absolutely love it. It's based on a true story. It's got some true crime in the beginning. It all plays out kind of like things do here. You're going to love it. You're going to love it. I'm sure screen it first for the young ones, but, I'm sure the oldest one will get it, because she's so advanced anyway. But so anyhow, this weekend, I talked to Steve, who's on tomorrow night, and he's been doing some really special things on his channel. And I talked to him and I said, you know what? I'm going to make it 2 nights because I found some great documentaries. I got parts of them. A little bit of one tonight. I've made you a couple of videos, and then Steve and I are going to pick up where we left off and talk tomorrow night about some of the more fun predictions and fortune tellers or psychics or seers or oracles, wise men and women, all the different names they've had throughout. Glenn, take your prostate with you, Glenn. Don't leave that behind. He'll be right back, folks. So there's been so many. So Nostradamus has always really fascinated a lot of people. Oh, you love the Irish guy. You didn't want to see what would happen. Yeah, the Irish guy was adorable in that. I mean, it really, at the end there, Linda, it really comes together. It ends very well. It really does. God bless that little the Romanian princess that they were taking care of in the house. It was amazing. She was pretending to be a maid, but she was really royalty back in her country. It's amazing. Sarah, I hope you got to see some of those movies too. So I try to do that, to get you guys, something to watch and to dig on. I don't know how you guys feel about Nostradamus. People either are like lukewarm with it, or they just absolutely it fears them. They're scared of it, or they're just so intrigued by it, or just it's nothing. The way you can look at it a little bit with me is, I figured anybody that's a remote viewer here, anybody that has any kind of abilities or psychic abilities or anything like that, I think one of the things about coming together during this podcast, in this chat, and tomorrow nights, and in a lot of other podcasts that are out there, is we come together as a group, not just to understand things and talk about things that interest us, but to also come together on other things. If I'm a firm believer, hey, Bobby, we're talking about fortune tellers and psychics, and right now Nostradamus. So I think the thing that really gets people with Nostradamus is that everything was written in the quatrains, and he had to also write it in his of course in French, and then he added Latin, and then he added some acronyms in there and everything, and back and forth, because he was trying to hide a lot of it, because he didn't want to get burned as a witch. And I mean, throughout his life, he really came up close on a couple times being burned as, at the stake. I mean, there were people in the streets, yelling for, to be hung. Luckily, he knew some higher ups, with a little pull to get him out of those messes. But he really did try to hide it. It's very much like puzzles, and it's very up to interpretation. And people throughout centuries really have argued back and forth about, what this one thing means. One of the things was Hister or Hitler, and Hister was basically a play on an old name for a river there. And, back and forth, little things like that. So it left a little play in there. And anytime there's play in something like that, people are going to argue it through, whether it be the JFK assassination or, predictions of the future. I find them fascinating. I did do a little video. Um, oh, okay. Donnie's got a fun fact here about Black Mirror is based on the title off of Nostradamus's scrying method. Yep, he did. He did it in a brass bowl. Hey, AJK, welcome in. Welcome in. Hello, hello. Yep, he did it that way. Hey, Monica, he did it that way, and others too. So basically, I am no expert on Nostradamus. So I have Leonard Nimoy is coming by later to help us with because we all know Leonard Nimoy. He was kind of a prophet in his own way, wasn't he? But so he's going to come along a little bit later to tell us a little bit about that. And like I said, tomorrow night, Steve is coming on. We're going to continue this talk. We're going to talk and see what he thinks about Nostradamus, as well as some of the fun, and wacky, seers and soothsayers, or whatever you want to call it, fortune tellers or psychics that were out there. So me personally, I absolutely believe in it. I don't know what to think about Nostradamus, because the whole thing to me is, it seems easier to take a riddle and kind of move it around and make it fit something that's already happened. But there are definitely some of his quatrains out there that are absolutely like just very hard to argue with. And we're going to touch on some of those. But I made a little video here about some of the fun ones that I always thought were kind of cool, that had that kind of air of, wow, how is that even possible? And, that had a little bit of interesting things on them. But I wanted to touch on them before we really get, nosedive into this Nostradamus, because the whole thing about Nostradamus is too, if you're seeing anything, if you put in Nostradamus right now on YouTube or on Google it, or you put in predictions for 2023, some people are really taking what he said about 2023 coming up as very doom and gloom, very scary, very ominous stuff, and they're playing on that. And like I said, with Nostradamus, there's a little wiggle room in there with the way it's all written and everything else. So, I wanted to bring it right out front, put it out front, like I say, on the front porch, where we can keep an eye on it and give it a cocktail. See what I'm saying? Because I believe, as light granders and gatekeepers and, light workers, one of our basic duties, or one of the things that we can really focus in on, is taking something like that and pushing it away with your light, pushing it away with your energy to make it change. There are groups who change weather. There are groups that stop things from happening, in wars and, battles and, all kinds of things throughout history. It's been proven. And that's something I really believe in, that a lot of people in agreement with in the light can actually change something. And I think if you look at something like that, you can change what's coming. That's my thoughts now. I don't know how you guys feel about that. I think Linda says exactly. I think that that's one of our jobs, is to look at this kind of darkness and go, not having it. We're not having it. We can manifest something more positive. We're going to manifest pushing through it. We can manifest the acceleration of consciousness and frequency. And you can do that with yourself. And then you get in a group like this, and we can do the same thing. We've seen it here. We've seen, sick cats get better and feel good for a couple of hours, because so many people just send them love. We've seen things change over. We've seen people come into this chat sad and leave happy an hour and a half, 2 hours later. That's a miracle in itself, I think, to be able to change somebody's emotion, and to be able to change power in numbers, right, Linda? To be able to change someone's emotion is to change their vibration. And you can absolutely change your vibration. That means you can change the vibration in a room. You can change the vibration in a town, in a city, on a globe, into the universe. I believe that that's what it can be done. I have zero doubt of that. I've seen things like this work. So, if we look at this and we put it right out front on the porch and give it a cocktail, where we keep an eye on it, I think that we could switch a lot of things like this. And Nostradamus actually said that himself. And a lot of um, people who, mediums and psychics and people that predict the future, however you want to say it, will tell you the same thing. A lot of times they tell you things that, um, so you can prevent them. If you don't stop this is going to happen. You're going down this path. Change your path, change your direction. Be in charge of your journey. Some things we have to go through, to create our character, raise our consciousness for our experience database, so to say. But how you go through those things is also a choice, I believe. You know, and that can change everything, especially how it affects you. Hello, little one. That's what we believe, don't we? We change our future. Say hi. Do you want to say hi, Mr. Spirit? Huh? What do you think about Notre Dame, huh? What do you think about all that? Hmm? You think we can change our future and manifest positivity? What do you want to manifest? A nap? Huh? Or a snack? Say hi. Such a sweet boy. Such a sweet boy, Miss Spirit. Okay, go down there with your brother. Go down there with your brother. Lots of love coming your way. Aw, headbutts. They're the sweetest babies, I'm telling you. They'll Spirit. They get big. Did he not get big? Oh my gosh. Yep. Yep. Positive people, right? You're going to get what you put out too, right? So again, like we talk about, I bring up fallen a lot because I thought that was such a good way to get people to understand how these negative things can jump from one person to another, basically like a jumper or an oppression or a possession or whatever. But as you're watching this movie Fallen and you're watching this demon, you don't really see the demon, you just see how it affects each person as it jumps into them. What people miss is that in a crowd of people, like say in New York going down the sidewalk, it's hovering and hovering, and it's only getting into certain ones. It's going over others. It's missing others. So why is it easy for it to jump into some and not others? Why does it avoid others? Because of their protective barrier, because of their light, because of their vibration, because of their frequency, because of their faith, their light, their foundation. You see? So I think it's the same with predictions. Yep, like walk-ins. Yep. I think it's the same with predictions. I think that at the time, we talk about aliens coming back, or extraterrestrials coming and telling and showing people this is going to happen if mankind or whatever doesn't stop doing these things. There's been a lot of predictions that were supposed to happen that never did. And that could be because of collective consciousness. It could be one little thing got changed. And I think that's the best way to look at this stuff. I don't want anybody afraid or scared of these things. I find it fascinating. Hello, Julie. I find it fascinating. And, you can't be scared if Leonard Nimoy is going to walk you through it. It's just, he's going to be in his turtleneck. I think he's got a porn stash in this one. I don't want to get you excited, but I think he does. I can't remember. It's all starting to blur together. But, how can you be scared when Leonard Nimoy is walking you through it? So we're going to watch a little searching in search of Nostradamus. And I find it amazing to look at that from the 70s and how much stuff has happened since. Nostradamus predicted that in 23 we would lose a pope. If I'm not mistaken, I think we just did. And how close is that? Some people are going to say, okay, well, he said 23 and it was in 22, like the last days of 22. Some people are that specific on things, and other people are so broad brush that just anything could fit. Somewhere in the middle is the truth. I can't tell you what that truth is. I can tell you what fascinates me and what intrigues me, but that doesn't, right or wrong. it's not going to change anything. What I do know is that these things can be changed. I do believe that. And I believe that most people you talk to will tell you um, the same thing, that your future isn't all written in stone. Now, I heard it explained the other day. I forget exactly where it was, but it was fantastic. They said that some tapestries, life is like a tapestry, and some threads are woven tighter than others. Some have to be because it carries you to the next thing. Without those bridges in your life, you wouldn't get to the next shore. And that makes total sense. But other threads are woven in muted colors, and some are brighter colors, and threads are looser than others and can be changed and redirected. And I think that's a good way of looking at this. It's a tapestry. And Nostradamus had some wild things in his tapestry. And he's, some people say he absolutely predicted many things that came true. And others will say that, if forced in, those puzzle pieces really fit a bigger picture that we already had. And that's just something you guys are going to have to look at and see. Otherwise, I mean, I just think it's absolutely fascinating. And some of these things really make me smile. So I wanted to share with you. I did a little video. This one's kind of short, but it's fun, and I hope you enjoy it. And I'm so glad. Thank you to Microsoft for fixing whatever issue it was with these dragon videos on Chrome and on Firefox. I've got the Microsoft now, and the new system is doing great. And just thank you, because man, that drove me nuts. So here we go. Here we go. Yeah, the three fates. Yeah, oh boy, that's another one, Glenn. And do you remember the one? What story was it? Is it a Greek? Is it Greek folklore, Bowden, about the sisters with the scissors that cut the golden threads and cut off the life? And I think that Stephen King wrote one uh, that had a lot of that in there too, with the golden thread. And once that got detached, that was it. You were detached from your source. I think it was Insomnia. But anyway, yeah, that's a crazy thing. Well, what do you think that golden thread is? That's you connected to your source. We're always connected. No, it's a trip. It's amazing how some of those things have so much truth in them, huh? Yep. That the three fates, Glenn? Thank you. Yep. Three fates. Wow. Yep. Wow. Don't cut my thread. All right, here we go. Enjoy. I love Mark Twain. I absolutely do. And I think that's the neatest thing with the Halley's Comet. Did you guys know that one? He actually did quite a few predictions. If you get into the life of Mark Twain, he often said little profound things, and then looking back at them later, he was spot on. He really was. What are you guys saying here? Yes, Piers Anthony wrote a novel about the yep. I didn't read it, but I remember hearing about it. Yep. Around CERN. I don't know, but CERN's a it's got bad mojo. There's a lot of mess going around with CERN. I found the Titanic um one extremely amazing too. I mean, that book was written 14 years before the Titanic was even launched. And it was so profound and so spot on that it really did shake a lot of people. And you have to wonder, where did the idea for the book come from? Was it a prediction? The author never claimed it. But what if he had other predictions and just didn't want to say? Somebody was in here saying, psychics get messed with all the time. Of course they do. And, I've spoken to several that knew something was going to happen, wasn't sure what was going to be big. Steve and I have talked about this a lot. Brian and I have talked about this a lot. Um, and what do you do? Because if you call up somebody and say, hey, look, I know where such and such a body is, or an accident happened, or a car went into the lake, or some other kind of thing like that, or some kind of devastation to a building or a plane, or you're going to get arrested. I know several mediums that have sat in jail cells being interrogated because they were trying to help solve a murder. It's really an awful, I don't want to say it's a burden, but it's really harsh. There's never been a time, I think, that's been easy on psychics. And as we get into the Nostradamus stuff a little bit more, and if I can get that documentary for you, I've been fighting with YouTube all day on it, trying to get it to where I can, show it to you. I want to show it early tomorrow before Steve gets here, and we can talk about that too, because it's really in depth. It was done in 1979. And the way they go at it is just so different from what you see now on the History Channel and all these, these set, narratives and things. I just want to hear it the way it was, as best as we could, fathom. And for 1979, it was really good. The In Search of One, of course, that was done in the early 70s as well. So when you watch these, keep that in mind. Has there been anything since that's happened? I think there has. With the Nostradamus predictions. So, yeah, Jules Verne, absolutely. And remember that movie, The Time Machine? Gosh, I'll never forget the original one, where the machine sits there and he's looking across the street, and there's a shop window, and the shop window is, I think it's a clothing store, and the mannequins have different clothes on. So as the time goes back, the clothes change real fast as the fashion changes. That was one way they found to show the time lapse. It was very, very well done. I didn't like that. What was it? The Morlocks at the end, where everybody's living in cages, and their sight went funky, and weren't they cannibals? I think, or something like that. Yep. Rod Taylor. Yep, that was a good one. Hmm. I like that one. And some of these remakes, they just, yep, Morlocks. Yep, they're just not as good as the originals. But that was a little one. And again, like I said, I love Mark Twain. And if you ever got deep into Mark Twain and you read a lot about his autobiography and how he came along, it was a very interesting life. And he really got around and saw a lot of people and bumped into people for short amount of time, and you didn't hear about the story until after that person later on would tell it. I bumped into Mark Twain and this is what he said. And it was just very, very neat. um all the little things, and it was just as quaint and as nostalgic as you can imagine Mark Twain would be. Terrific guy, and I'm glad he got to go with Halley's Comet. That was really cool. It was something neat for me. So here's another one I put together. This is a little bit more in depth with some other predictions that came true. Um, and of course, they're more in depth than what I have here. I just mentioned a couple of people, and that's worth mentioning, there's people going all the way back, even before Nostradamus, people that, predicted certain things, Tesla, a lot of things, so many different people. So this is not, by any means a complete list, but it was some that I found interesting and wanted to share with you guys and see if you guys knew about it. But yeah, very interesting. Before we get into Nostradamus, let's see how you like this one. Hope you like it. Gosh, I'm so glad these things are playing right. It's just amazing. Here we go, babe. There you go. What do you think? Yes, I believe so too, Johnny. Absolutely. Because again, it's just like this. There's a lot of comfort, there's fear, there's interpretation, there's stories, there's inspiration, there's so much stuff. Yep. Yep. To the year, AJK. I actually have the book. It's right, bear with me, right here. Sylvia Browne, End of Days. It's right in there. Coronavirus 2020. And it wasn't just, oh, there's going to be a little something. It really explains quite a few things in there that, it came and, the way it showed up and the way it went back out and things in between. So it wasn't just, hey, there's going to be a virus and it's going to be called this in this year. There was a lot in there. I have the book right there. And it's amazing. Some of these other ones. Tana Hoy, based out of Hawaii, was actually on a live radio program, and 90 minutes before the Oklahoma bombing, basically predicted it, right there down to the building. I'm sure that he was, I don't know the whole story, but I can bet you that he was interrogated quite a while for that. So, and there's a lot to that to that bombing as well. That's a story right there. Boy, that's a whole weekend. But yeah, Sylvia, Edgar Cayce, so many, the Sleeping Prophet, so many more. So tomorrow we'll touch a little bit more on Edgar Cayce and some of the more fun ones. He was actually kind of fun, the way he did it, the way he went into trances, the way um people would come. It's like, I think with Edgar Cayce, you get a little bit more of that, what it's like to be um, someone like him. And, when do you stop, and take care of yourself? People, once the word is out, people keep coming. The same thing happened to Nostradamus. Um, he lost his whole family to the plague. He had a very simple way of going about things, as hygiene and being clean, and several other things that we look at as just take it for granted now. But it was really showing promise. This is in the 1500s, 1550s. If you think about it, the Civil War. I mean, through half of the Civil War, they didn't even have the common sense to boil things, utensils and surgical equipment, and just simple first aid care like that. So yeah, he had two families, absolutely, Linda. But the thing about that was, once they find out that you can predict, what do you do when a queen comes by and has 7 kids and say, can you tell me the future of all these kids? And you look at these kids and you see their futures, and she's going to lose 4 or 5 of them. Do you tell this queen, who's probably going to have your head chopped off, or do you lie? So there's all those kind of moral issues and stuff there too. Because gosh, it's just like anything else. It's just like, the Salem witch trials and everything else. We know doggone well that, the people that were tried in that, they weren't witches. They were probably people who cured, a couple of families with herbs. And the next thing you know, they're pointing fingers. You save the people from being sick, and the next thing you know, you're being burnt as a witch. I mean, people are fickle. Humankind is so fickle. They're always afraid of what they don't understand, and fear rules, which creates mob rules, which creates bad things. Yep, healers, that's for sure. I know darn well, if it was today, that's why anybody ever says time travel, I kind of think, well, there's not a lot of times that I can pick that would be safe to go back to and still keep my my head about me. I'm sure a lot of you feel the same way. Witches get stitches. That's true. Well, there's that one. Like I said, tomorrow night, Steve and I are going to go over the more fun ones. But when you do something like Hoy did, on live radio, and predict a huge bombing like the Oklahoma bombing, And I can't imagine. I think back at 9/11 and how many psychics and people with abilities and prophetic dreamers and things that they knew something was going on. They might have been able to say it was something in New York. It was going to be a terrorist attack. There was so many that claim now that they predicted that I forget the name of the twins, sisters that do that. They predict 9/11, and so many other people I know that just didn't say anything or didn't know exactly where because of the drama that comes back at you. You know, you know what? That's a good thing to think about right here, Johnny. A lot of people don't think of this. I'm glad you brought this up. From what I heard, as time travel would kill us, different bacteria and viruses. That's something nobody thinks of. You know, I'm speaking as a Native American here. That was what 80% of it. Sure, there was massacres and there was wars and everything else, but it was disease that killed so many. If anybody's ever seen Medicine Man, I talk about that, from time to time. Yeah, in certain cases, Linda, but what about, if you got zapped back into Roman times, everybody was a slave, which end are you going to wind up on? Because if you don't know exactly where you're going or what timeline or what part of where, you know, phew, man, that would be just a conundrum. And now to think too about the diseases and the bacteria and everything else, because your body's just not used to different things. My gosh, I'll just stay here. This is bad enough. The devil and all that mess. But so Nostradamus was the one I was going to concentrate on tonight. And if things work out, I'm going to do it early tomorrow too, before Steve gets here. A cut could kill you. That's true, Linda. Absolutely. I mean, I look back at, doing these researches and stuff. And one of the things that kills me is some of the stuff that's out there on social media, whatever you choose, YouTube, BitChute, Rumble, so many of the other things that are out there. And they'll do these little prediction things, which is why I chose to do this tonight, because they're putting out a lot of fear, and they're saying this is what Notre Dame saw for 2023, and this, and it's just all this like fire and Antichrist, and it's all this other stuff. Well, keep in mind, Notre Dame also said Antichrist because he didn't know what else word to use. Basically, he was using that for someone he saw that created a lot of damage and a lot of destruction, and of course killed a lot of people. And for his three Antichrist, supposedly the third one has not been named, but it was Napoleon and Hitler. I could see Hitler, but to jump from Napoleon, and miss people like Stalin and Mussolini and how many more, Genghis Khan, all these different ones, there's so many throughout history. So don't let them freak you out with using the words Antichrist. Learn a little bit more about Nostradamus and what he was saying, because a lot of these people are taking it and twisting it to either clickbait or get you scared. Fear sells. Look at the news. So the more we know about it, the more we can go, okay, this is what's coming. We're light workers. I'm just gonna manifest positive. Because I guarantee you the light's going to win. It's just the way it is. But they try through all these back channels, even people unwillingly not realizing it. It's just, I'm going to focus on this because this is going to be a headline that's going to sell. And, a lot of mine doesn't have all this clickbait and blood and guts and all this other stuff on it. If I wanted to, I could, but it's not the channel. We talk about these things. And we talk about some really dark stuff, but we always try to finish it with the light, because the dark definitely exists, so let's put it out on the front porch, give that son of a bitch a cocktail, maybe, a little stronger than normal, and maybe a straitjacket, and we'll just keep an eye on it. What do you think? Okay. So let's see if Leonard Nemoy can take us through and shed a little light on Notre Dame for us, and hopefully this will work. I love y'all. Don't you love it when we have Leonard Nimoy night? I love Leonard Nemoy.
400 years ago, a renowned French doctor decided to put in writing strange visions that he summoned up by occult means. He believed they foretold the future, and they have become known as the prophecies of Nostradamus. Many people have trusted them completely, and even planned their lives around them. Adolf Hitler was one. The words of Nostradamus, although written 4 centuries earlier, seemed to describe Hitler uncannily.
In the court of Henry II and Catherine de' Medici, Nostradamus was believed.
Were they all deluded? Or was there some mystic formula which Nostradamus used to foresee events yet to happen?
Not for nothing, but I think we definitely need to bring back the word deluded. You know, that's something we could use. That person is just so deluded. I think we need to bring that back. Also, I wanted to point out that for scrying, Nostradamus tried a lot of things, but one of his favorite ways that he settled on was the brass bowl with water. And he would wave his wand. Basically, I think it's basically like dowsing rods kind of thing, and it would create this energy across the top of the water, and the ripples would, he said, break the barriers of time. It would ripple time as well, and that's when he would start to go into his trance, and sometimes as much as 2 hours. And when he came out of his trance, he would have all these quatrains written, and then he would go back over them and try to basically unravel them himself. He had a hard time understanding them as well. So I just thought that was interesting. Don't be deluded out there. Everybody, don't be deluded.
Early in the 16th century, Nostradamus gained fame as an astrologer after he published prophecies in verse form. Nostradamus described his method of predicting the future.
That's true.
Sitting alone at night in secret study, it is placed on the brass tripod. A slight flame comes out of the emptiness and makes successful that which should not be believed in vain. The wand in the hand is placed in the middle of the tripod's legs. With water, he sprinkles the hem of his garment and his foot. A voice, fear, he trembles in his robes. Divine splendor, the god sits nearby.
Since the beginning of history, advice has been sought from prophets who foretold disasters yet to come. Mankind's belief in free will and control of our own destiny sits uneasily with a suspicion that catastrophes, natural and man-made, are in some way preordained. Nostradamus himself believed that his predictions were of fates that could be avoided, destinies that could be changed.
Did you hear what Leonard said? Even Nostradamus believed that destinies could be changed. Don't be deluded.
He never doubted that he was genuinely seeing the future. He chose to write his prophecies in what are known as quatrains, 4-lined rhyming verse in the Provençal dialect of southern France, which was his home. It was the time of the Inquisition, when men and women were burned for lesser heresies than the one he practiced. So he deliberately disguised and confused the quatrains, using anagrams, Latin and Greek. Specific dates are rare. Even so, his verses evoke vivid images of calamities on earth.
At sunrise, a great fire will be seen, noise and light extending towards the north. Within the globe, death and cries are heard. Death awaiting them through weapons, fire and famine. The greatest army on the march put to flight will scarcely be pursued further. The army reassembled and the legion reduced, they will be driven out of France completely.
He organized his quatrains in groups of 100 called centuries. Nearly 1,000 predictions have come down to us. His fame spread with extraordinary speed after publication of the first volume in 1555. At the court of Henry II and Catherine de' Medici, they were read avidly. One was of particular interest because it was thought to predict the manner of the king's death.
The young lion will overcome the older one in a field of combat in a single fight. He will pierce his eyes in their golden cage. 2 wounds in one, then he dies a cruel death.
An Italian prophet had already warned Henry II that both the beginning and end of his reign would be marked by a duel. The first duel had been fought without injury, and now it was thought that the king's jousting days were over. But the occasion of a double royal wedding of his sister and his daughter to foreign nobility proved too much of a temptation. He faced his young lion, Count Gabriel de Montgomery.
The young lion will overcome the older one in a field of combat in a single fight.
The king wore a protective visor, according to contemporary accounts, made of gold. Was this, as Nostradamus called it, a golden cage?
A field of combat in a single fight.
Horsemen raced towards each other. Montgomery, too late, tried to withdraw his lance. The lance splintered, fragments driving up under the protective gold visor. Henry II took 10 agonizing days to die from septicemia. It seemed such a striking confirmation of Nostradamus' prediction that Catherine de' Medici made him médecin du roi, a doctor and soothsayer by royal appointment. For the rest of his life, he was famed throughout Europe. And after his death in 1566, people began to interpret lines from his quatrains as referring to their own time. Erica Cheatham, a scholar of medieval French who has made a special study of Nostradamus, finds some of these supposed prophecies significant.
One of the things I find most convincing about Nostradamus, and personally made me really interested in following him through, was the fact he gave specific dates that occurred after his death. He writes that in 1666, the city of London should be destroyed by fire. He gives the date of the death of King Charles I, 1649. The Parliament should put the King of London to death. Louis Pasteur, the great biologist, he not only gives his name, but in the same verse, he gives the founding of the Institute, 1895.
London burnt by fire in 3 times 20 plus 6.
The Great Fire of London happened in 1666. The French Revolution in 1791.
By night.
I had to stop and jump in here. First of all, the jousting, I find that just a crazy sport, and I don't know why anybody would do it in the first place, but that was a wild prediction. That's like one of my favorites. And in doing this research for you guys, I can tell you right now, I found 6 different, let's just put it this way, not documentaries, but episodes or podcasts or, you know, interviews where people actually stated that the date that Nostradamus said that London burnt to the ground was 1966. Now, I don't know about our UK listeners out there, but does anybody remember London burning to the ground in 1966? 6 different podcasts stated that date. So this is how careful people out there are throwing out this fear, is even researching the details. So be very aware. Be very be very aware. You know, don't be deluded. Here we go. Oh my gosh, 1966. That's just lazy.
He will come through the forest, 2 partners, in a roundabout way. The Queen, the White Stone. The Monk King, dressed in grey at Varennes.
Marie Antoinette, her hair turned white through shock, escaped with Louis XVI secretly through the town of Varennes.
For not wanting to consent to the divorce, which then will be recognized as unworthy, the king of the islands will be forced to flee, and one put in his place who has no sign of kingship.
King Edward VII of Britain abdicated because of his love of Mrs. Simpson and spent the rest of his life in exile. His brother George, who never expected nor wanted to become king, ruled in his place. But for those who see Nostradamus as having an outstanding prophetic gift, 2 names are always put forward: Napoleon, Hitler. Both names, if they were truly foreseen by Nostradamus, were disguised or coded. Napoleon was written as an anagram: Pau, Ne, Laurent. Juggle these around, and they become Napoleon Roy, Napoleon the King. Napoleon, after his defeat at Waterloo, was exiled on the tiny island of Elba. After his escape and his victorious 100 days, a new empire began to grow for him.
Stained with murder and enormous adulteries, the great enemy of all mankind, he will be worse than his ancestors, uncles and fathers, in steel, fire and water, bloody and inhuman.
Out of nearly 1,000 such quatrains that Nostradamus wrote, how many can be interpreted as having come true? Scholars such as Erica Cheatham think the proportion is very high.
In my opinion, I think perhaps 73% is a rough average of what has come true, but remember that does cover a span of 400 years.
As Hitler advanced through Europe, his colleague Goebbels was busy orchestrating a propaganda campaign based on the 400-year-old prophecies. True or not, they were to have an effect on the strategy of the Second World War. It was Frau Goebbels, wife of the Nazi propaganda minister, who first alerted Hitler to the strangely accurate way that Nostradamus seemed to describe events leading to the war in Europe. Ellick Howe, a former British intelligence agent, detailed to assess the influence of Nostradamus on Hitler, explains what happened.
Around the 20th of November, 1940, once Goebbels was actually sleeping at home with his wife. She was reading a book about ancient prophecies, and she was so excited about what she read about a particular prophecy which had been attributed to Nostradamus that she woke her husband up and said, Joseph, you must listen to this. There's this prophecy that there'd be a war in Poland in 1939 and it would be the end of the British Empire. And a couple of days later, Goebbels was instructing his stooges at the propaganda ministry to prepare, without delay, a Nostradamus leaflet for the benefit of the French in order to depress and mislead them.
No fewer than 13 quatrains seem to refer to Hitler, sometimes calling him Hister, sometimes the great or greatest leader, and describing the swastika as the crooked cross. Even before hostilities began, military leaders on the French side began to dig the Maginot Line, according to instructions apparently given by Nostradamus.
A great trench, earth excavated. The water will be divided into 15 parts.
The Nuremberg Rally and the invasion and occupation of France.
When the greatest man carried off the prize of Nuremberg, battle is joined with the French. He makes preparations. Some will regard him as good, others bad or uncertain.
Italy and the pact with Mussolini.
Not far from Venice, the two greatest ones of Asia and Africa will be said to come from the Rhine and Hitler.
Mussolini's black-clothed fascists and the pact with Hitler.
Liberty will be occupied by a black, proud and villainous man. By Hitler, the Republic of Venice will be vexed.
Aerial warfare and the Battle of Britain.
He will use thunderbolts, so many in such an array. The machine of flying fire will come.
A skeptic would call these quatrains obscure and irrelevant. And was Nostradamus genuinely foreseeing a swastika when he wrote the following?
The great pontiff by the warlike party who will subjugate the borders of the Danube. The cross pursued by hook or crook. Captives, gold, jewels, more than 100,000 rubies.
And are even the references by name to Napoleon and Hitler as accurate as they first appear?
The
Author John Sladek
Napoleon.
does not think so.
There are hundreds of Napoleon quatrains in the prophecies, mainly because I think the 19th century French scholars kept going over and over Nostradamus and digging out anything that could be anything to do with Napoleon. But the one I noticed particularly is supposed to have an anagram of Napoleon, which is P-A-U N-A-Y-L-O-R-O-N. If anybody can make Napoleon out of this, they're a pretty good mystic themselves. In fact, it could be an anagram of just about anything. It could be an anagram of your pal Anon. There are a number of predictions which refer to something or someone called Hister.
What? Your pal what? Just saying.
H-I-S-T-E-R. And this is usually taken by the Nostradamus believers as Hitler. But in fact, it was a reference to the Danube River, which was called the Easter River in Nostradamus's time.
It is said in defense of Nostradamus that he made his prophecies deliberately obscure in order to escape the charges of heresy and witchcraft. Moreover, if it is possible to look into the future, everyone in history who has attempted to do so has said that the picture is uncertain and indistinct, as if they are permitted only glimpses of what might be.
It's self-fulfilling prophecy.
Ron Warmoth, modern psychic, often consulted by the business community, explains foretelling the future.
And the true psychic part, or precognitive part, which is being able to sort of see around the bend in the river, as Einstein put it, is relatively rare in that sense where it's completely without any sort of an input. I do believe that, that we can prevent future events. I'm not a fatalist. I happen to believe that we do have free choice. And I feel that being forewarned is being forearmed, which means that if a psychic tells you something that's negative, you can change it.
If the Nostradamus predictions come true in our lifetime, might they help to establish his authenticity? They speak of actions begun by a man in France leading to a crisis in Persia, the land now called Iran. It was indeed in France that the Ayatollah Khomeini lived in exile before returning to take over from the Shah. Erica Cheatham finds this completely convincing.
When I wrote it initially, I said that this particular prediction was rubbish. It's in number 70 in Century 1. It talks of a man in a turban who shall sit in France plotting the downfall of the Emperor of Persia. Unbelievable.
Another quatrain can be taken to predict that the Prince of England will marry and that he will be the last prince on the English throne. If all these happened, would it be just coincidence? One striking aspect of the prophecies of Nostradamus is that where they seem to mean something, they have often been unfulfilled. Hitler saw himself as the conqueror of Europe and Russia. Neither Nostradamus nor any of his astrologers foresaw his downfall. Napoleon believed he would win at Waterloo, as predicted by Nostradamus. He lost.
There's certain quatrains which were taken to mean the French Revolution, and then were taken to mean the Napoleonic Wars, and then were taken to mean the First World War, and then were taken to mean the Second World War. So I don't suppose anything that's that vague really is of any value at all as far as predictive power.
So far, a lot of the things he said have come true, or there has been accuracy there, because I believe he did predict the Second World War. He's predicted also to do with the massacre of the Jewish race. He also predicted a great deal to do with Hitler. He also predicted a lot of our problems we have with Russia, and many different things, and he has been very accurate. I mean, I think it has to speak for itself.
In the end, perhaps most prophecies mean just what the listener intends them to mean. Possibly those rare, true glimpses of the future that some people seem to have are half coincidence and half foresight. Perhaps they owe as much to self-fulfillment as to the supernatural. We cannot be sure.
For repairs and improvements around the house, the right tool can save you time and money. Well,
Lost civilizations, extraterrestrials, myths and monsters, missing persons, magic and witchcraft, unexplained phenomena. In search of cameras are traveling the world, seeking out these great mysteries. This program was the result of the work of scientists, researchers, and a group of highly skilled technicians.
There we go. The right tool for the job. Well, you heard it yourself. Depends on who you talk to and how they feel about these quatrains. And basically, to me, it's very much like, it's very interesting, and it's very much like any book that was written back in, you go far back and you've got your Lost in Translation, you've got several different languages. The man was trying to write in riddles so he wasn't going to get caught and burned at the stake for, heresy. Some of these things are spot on, but many people in this, and again, we're going back to the 70s now, and there was Leonard Nimoy in all his glory and his turtleneck and his porn stash telling you basically what I said in the beginning. It's very much like taking a riddle that's kind of muddied anyway. It's like a jigsaw puzzle without the cover to the box and trying to make it fit. And it's easier to do once the event has happened. Like that one gentleman there was saying about, how that one quatrain was meant, for World War II, for the French Revolution, for, another world event, and it was easy to move them around. So I want you to think about that when you're looking through and you're skipping through social media or whatever, and you see, like Glenn said, you might see a prophecy come up with Nostradamus and you think, oh gosh, he predicted this and this, so whatever this is might be, it's just another form of fear that they can put out there. Again, working with that. Like I said, the big one is the Antichrist. Now, if you want to ask me, I think there's a lot of things that say that entity is already here. Somebody says they're, different people that they think it might be and all that. The thing is you're not going to know till it hits. You probably fear it. Yeah, fear sells. You'll probably feel it more than you'll read it somewhere. Okay, being a light worker that you are, we definitely know that evil is crawling across this planet. I mean, it's absolutely. We know that we're in a time of ascension. We know that we're in a time where our souls picked to be here. So if we were over there and we know more when we're home, if that's how you want to put it, you want to say the afterlife, the other side, however you want to put it. If our souls know more then, because we have the collective DNA memory from other lifetimes, and we realize it then, and somehow we come to, I have to ask Lynn this one, somehow we eventually come to a knowing where we just know it now, over there. Maybe that comes all at once. Maybe it comes as your consciousness can accept it. I don't know. But if, when we're there, we get that consciousness back, we get that memory back from all the lifetimes our soul remembers, and we still choose to come back here during this time, we must have chosen because we knew we could do something. We must have chosen because we knew we would make a difference. We must have chosen to come back at this time because we knew we would have a job to do. We would have a place, a reason, a way of making a difference. That could just be being, I'm seeing in this chat, we've lost our way, we've lost class, people don't care about, the Jimmy Saviles and, the kind of people that are supposedly royals. They've always through history been less than in their character because of how they were brought up and, the way that their world is very small. And that the beggar that they just went by, or the homeless person that they just went by and ignored and treated less than, is probably a better human being than anybody in that whole damn castle could ever be, because it's just a different person. These people live on, inherently throughout history have always been different because of the world they were brought up in. To be told that they're special and that just because of who they were born to or their name or their bloodline that they're special. Well, I believe that the bad people, the 13 families, all of that, the bloodlines. Let me tell you something. They're not the only ones with bloodlines. Do you understand what I'm saying? Many of us have had what Nostradamus and people around him and people that we've talked about a little bit about tonight would call a knowing. whether that's I'm right where I'm supposed to be right now, I feel like I should be doing more. What can I do? You're probably doing it. You're probably doing whatever, even if it's just surviving and trying to, make it through to the next day, to be nicer to people that you're with, to raise your kids, your grandkids, whatever you're trying to do that's different. Taking care of nature, taking care of yourself, trying to be that difference that you want to see in the world. All of those things. So my point is, we would not have chosen to be here at this time if our souls didn't know that we could make a difference. Why else would we choose to jump into this prison planet when we could have reincarnated anywhere? That we could have reincarnated into a place that doesn't have war, that doesn't have, you know, their Jimmy Saviles and the Epsteins, and and the royal people who treat people less than, we see a lot of this evil because it's being brought up right up front. Basically, every night we're seeing it put on the front porch, and we're being told to keep an eye on it. But that's not why they're putting it on the front porch. They're putting it on the front porch to scare you, to tell you that you got to walk through that to get into your home, where everything is as safe and as peaceful and as serene and as light filled as you can make it. Even if you have others in your home that fight you on that, you still don't give up the fight. You still keep doing it. You still try to put that light out there, whether it might be putting flowers on the table, or putting music on, or baking, or cooking your family dinner, or going out and making the money to make the dinner, to buy the dinner, whatever you're doing in your life to keep the lights on. They're telling you by putting it on the front porch that this is the way the whole world is. The whole world doesn't care. The whole world is out of, out of whack. And everybody feels that, they're going to rob and steal and loot in times of, of tragedy. They're not showing you the neighbors that fed, 2 or 3 other families, or hooked up their generator so the house next door had heat, or their food didn't spoil. All the little things that we don't hear of, that we used to think were quaint little stories about hearing, little radio shows about, Prairie Home and all that. And then we find out that the guy who said it was I don't know, he was into some kind of trouble. But again, that destroys it for you. When you see, the little kid you watch grow up on TV as the sweet little kid that whatever, and then he grows up and he's into drugs and he gets in trouble and winds up in jail, and you think, oh gosh, well, there goes that too. It's like everything good they turn nasty. The thing is that's what they're putting on the front porch. What's going on in the home is wonderful. What's going on outside in a lot of ways is wonderful. They're just not putting that out front. And we know that a little bit of light wipes out a lot of darkness. You know what I mean? So we are not the minority. We are the majority. People that still have wholesome values, people that still go to work and try to pay their bills and still try to find ways to make their kids laugh on the couch that night, before they put them to bed. They hug them and they tell them they love them. The love still flows. The love still flows. It's still all of the kindness. They're telling you the horrible stuff that's going on in the hospitals are going here, but you don't see the kindness between that nurse and that patient, that family praying outside, the people trying to do their best to help that person. You're not seeing all that. We are digging into things because we want to know the truth. And we have to dig into some of these rabbit holes are kind of nasty, and you come out of them and you feel dirty and dingy because you've just been in a really dark place, but you know how to get that light back. You turn it on, you keep it on, right? Thank you, Uncommon Belief, for dropping that. Yep, that's my PayPal, and TeePublic is having a sale right now if you want to get one of those mugs. The book is also available on Amazon, and that tells you an awful lot about how I came through some really dark things, and what it's really rough to look back I look at that book and I'm very proud of it, and I'm glad I chose the stories that are in there. Not all of my experiences are in there, but quite a few of them. But the way it's set up is to try to tell you this happened to me too. And at the time I felt it was like this. And then as I went through, I look back 20 years later and go, wow, it was bigger than that. It was more than I thought. And I think that's what this is too. I think, our life here is more than we think it is. We try to make it, you know, compartmentalize everything, and we try to put it all in a little box. This was our life, and this is what we did here, and what am I leaving behind, and you know what kind of a person am I going to be remembered for? And the sad part is a lot of really good people aren't remembered. Here we are, we're talking about Nostradamus and the things that he did, and he wandered for a long time. He didn't know what he was, meant to do. He had this brain that was always on, and he was thinking. There's been so many people like that in history, Tesla, and gosh, Da Vinci, and I could go on forever, Plato, you know, uh, and they think, gosh, I'll never be remembered for this. I'm just going to do so many things at once. It was almost like their lives. They were trying to do so many things at once. I think that's what old souls do. But they never think they're going to be remembered for it. Look at what Lincoln said, the Gettysburg Address. People will not long remember what we say here today. And we still remember, almost 200 years later. We remember what was said because it was so profound, So I think that that's what we need to do. We just need to be profound with our light. We need to be profound with our thinking. Maybe we need to up our thinking too, instead of letting things go a little while longer. Try to fix it right then. Or if you're caught in the middle of like road rage or something, and you see yourself getting upset, and you notice that, and you can stop it and go, you know what? Let him go. Let him get to the light first. Or that jerk almost ran me off the road, but he didn't. It missed me. So let him go on, and I'll just stay away from him, and I'm going to stay in my lane, and I'm going to do what I need to do to get myself safely to where I'm going. And I'm not going to worry about those people. And I think in a lot of ways, that's the way we need to go through life, whether you're at work or whatever. If you have to be, if you cannot keep yourself from having to deal with somebody who's negative, just deal with them as little as possible and try not to let it get on you. Because the minute you let that in, now it's affecting you. You've made a choice to let that in, with that chaotic person, with that, energy vampire, with that person that tries to bring everybody down, the little Debbie Downers and the needy Nancys and the, all of those people. I think we're here to make a little bit of difference in our little corner of the world. None of us is going to be remembered, for 500 years, like Nostradamus. But maybe the light we plant, the light seeds we plant today will grow into mighty oaks. And 2-3 generations down, the light that we reflect today will still be reflecting in those people, because we took a moment to try to make it better. We took a moment to choose the light and put that out there. So I don't want you guys to get crazy about these predictions for 2023. If there's something coming, prepare the best you can for it. Prepare the best you can for it. Don't let it steal 1 second of your day today. Prepare for it and move on. What's going to happen is going to happen. You have to make your decisions for your square foot of real estate that you're in, for your family, for your well-being, for yourself. Okay? If you can do something to make whatever, bad times might come, or bad weather, or, money times, most of us here at that time, we're prepared for that now. That's why we're still here. I laugh at, because I told somebody a couple of weeks ago, I said, a lot of these things as you're hearing that are going to happen, with whatever it may be, that's people that are like 5, levels above us in the financial department. They're going to, want to, jump out of a building because they dropped 2 above us. I don't know about you guys, but I've struggled all my life. I've been a blue collar worker all my life. I know how to work. I know trades. I know many things on how to survive. We've been surviving all our lives. There's nobody here that's, uh, spoon fed with the royal spoon and all this other mess. We're hacking it out of the wilderness every friggin' day. We're survivors. Most light workers are. So there's nothing that's coming that you have to fear. Fear itself, is, I don't even fear that, but when I saw all these predictions of 2023 and the Antichrist is coming and this is coming and this is coming and this is coming, it's like 2023 said to 2022, hold my beer. Okay. There's bad stuff every year. There's, good stuff every year too. And I think what we focus on and what our positivity is focused on, that's what's going to come. Because I know a lot of people that went through a lot of bad things, and I'm not belittling them at all, but I listen to some people now talk about this last year. And they're like, oh, this was horrible because this happened and this happened and this happened. And I'm thinking, God, that was Monday. I think it's how we look at things and how you categorize things in your own head. Does this make sense? If you're like, okay, this comes, what can I do about this situation? Is there anything I can do about that? Not sit down on the couch and go, there's nothing I can do about this. Okay, if there's nothing you can do about it, can you make the blow easier? Can you cushion it? You see what I'm saying? It's like Brian said, go out and get, more canned goods. I told people that 2 years ago. They thought it was crazy. I said, look, this is going to get higher. Go do this. Learn how to freeze eggs. Buy your eggs, freeze them. You can scramble eggs and freeze raw eggs so you can use them in recipes and stuff. People, how to can, teach somebody how to can. You know how to grow stuff. I grew potatoes this year in buckets. Just testing stuff out to see what best crop is going to be. And I have a small, I don't have a huge yard, but just little things like that, because if you can do something, if you can, collect herbs and, do that kind of thing, maybe get some kids that are used to it. There's lots of different things social media can be used for. There's this one thing. It's like, I don't know if they still have it. I'm sure there's a bunch of different ones, but it's like a meetup or something where, it's like in your town. And if you really like old movies, they have a little group and they get together, they go screen an old movie, or, people that like to play Frisbee in the park or whatever it may be. Get on there and start an herb thing. It's like, hey, you want to get together and see what herbs are here in the, in the national parks around us, or in your own yard, or, hey, did you know mullein grows in your own yard? You could use it for sprains. I mean, try to get some of the old ways. Think about that granny witch, about how it said, don't let your, you're not a damn peach. You're not a queen of the mountain. You're one of the older people with bloodlines, and you have a memory and you have a genetic memory, and you want to put these things out. Write the stuff down. Write a little book, a little book about herbal cures or recipes or different ways to do things. And it's absolutely valuable. Write it down and leave it. Give it to the people now that you want to have, and spread that light on. Like I said, spread the light. And they're not the only ones with bloodlines. I believe that my bloodlines have always been warriors. They have been fighters. They have been light grounders and light bearers. And I will not let my ancestors down. So for 2023, I look at it and say, bring it on. Bring it on. I plan on living every day to the best of my ability, to tell the ones that I love them, to try to do things for this group here, and bring positive things, even the dark stuff. Let's bring it out, put it on the front porch, and give it a damn cocktail, and a straight jacket if need be, and a straw. And just keep that sucker right there. We can keep an eye on it, because surround it in light, because the negative can't stay around that kind of light. So it's going to have to go somewhere else. That's all. You know, tomorrow night we're going to get together. We'll talk a little bit more about Cacey. Jeanie Dixson was a hoot and holler. Boy, if you were around and you got to see some of the things she did, I got some clips of her, and Steve's bringing some fun stuff. I also have some, some of the some of the fun fortune tellers, and again, we make fun tonight, about talking about oracles and soothsayers and this and that. But again, in every culture, all through time, in the Bible, I mean, it's in every direction you can go in. There was a wise woman, a wise man, an oracle, a fortune teller, a psychic, a medium, and some of them happen to be my best friends. And I can tell you right now that I've seen them do so much good. I've seen them give people hope. I've seen them torn apart. I've seen them do 30 years of good work with integrity and honor and accuracy, and make one prediction that didn't quite hit, or one um, just one mistake, and that's all people remember them for. And that's not really how we should be. Um, you know, uh, I make jewelry, and not every single one of them is a work of art. And some of the ones that I made that didn't quite turn out the way I thought, I put them out at a show anyway. And here comes somebody that comes along and sees that piece and just loses it. Just, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And this is just exactly and I'm thinking, that was like one of my, ugh, but do I tell that person that? Do I say that's like the worst piece on there? Aren't you interested in something else over here? No, that person, that piece, what I thought was a mistake, what I thought didn't turn out the way I wanted it to, was somebody else's, dream come true. Made them happy, lit up their entire face, their soul. So who am I to judge my own works? Do you see what I'm saying? All we can do is the best we possibly can, and try to be a better today than we were yesterday, better this year than we were last year. You see what I mean? So again, don't worry so much about what's coming this year. Think about what you got through last year, what you got through yesterday. I do make things in bronze, Vixen. Yes, I do. I work mostly in sterling. Copper is like my favorite. Sterling's definitely a favorite, but copper's got to be really close. I do some in gold. It's extremely expensive. It's sold by the inch instead of the foot. You can imagine what it's like now. And it's extremely soft, which is why Native Americans didn't make a lot of stuff in gold and didn't find it very valuable. Silver held up a lot better, and so did copper, and things like that. So, but yes, bronze is very cool to work with. But so that's the thing. I wanted to put that in there about Nostradamus. I'm going to try to work on that documentary. It's 1979. The copy that I'm able to get a hold of is VHS. It's not the best in the world, but I think it's worth getting through because of the different ways that the people describe how to look at Nostradamus and everything else. Because again, in the beginning of the year, we're always I think it seems like they really try to push us, like be better this year. Iron jewelry, absolutely we do. We have a couple blacksmiths in here that are working on that, Sir Brian. We're trying to get the iron cuffs. That's what I want. I want one that just looks like a horseshoe nail that's bent around all the way around. I don't want a cuff. I don't want any breaks. I want it to be like a circle that I can squeeze down. I don't want any breaks in it for my left hand. But Bobby, love you, honey. Hang in there. Oh gosh. Well, many prayers to you, sweetheart. Oh gosh, it's awful. Hearts go out to you. Lots of healing energy, honey. Take it with you. Okay. It's awful. I hate anybody that's suffering through any kind of health issue and stuff. It's awful. Much love to you, Bobby. Hang in there, sweetheart. You're a warrior. Gonna get through this. Carry some light with you, babe. And that's the main thing. I don't want you guys worried about the year coming up. It's gonna be what it's gonna be. If you want to get cans, absolutely. Get lots of beans and lots of canned tomatoes and canned potatoes, and go when they have sales, and make a game out of it. Trying to get, go to the different places to get stuff. You don't have to go to just one place to shop. Try to get the best deals. We've been doing it forever. Um, and that's just what you keep doing. What are you going to wind up with? Chili? How bad can it be? So even if it's a couple of cans a week, or, a couple of cans of extra pet food, and put everything up, I think you feel better when you're a little bit more ready for stuff that comes, water, stuff like that. Get a rain barrel if you can, different things. Do what you can, what works for you, but don't get obsessed with it. And that's all you think about, because here's the deal. You'll let them steal more from you. I'm not into that. I laugh, I joke, and, I kiss kitties, and, I watch the birds outside, and, I feel sorrier for them than anybody else when it comes to this, weather and stuff. So I try to do my best there. And I think the light follows you. I really do. When I saw a lot of that, and then, the real irresponsible things out there, and just wrong it's not misinformation, it's wrong information. I mean, London did not burn to the ground in 1966, and to just put that out there. So that would also make you wonder, what else is out there that people are watching that's not true, and they take it as true because it's on a video. I could put whatever I want on my videos, doesn't make it true. You see? So when you start digging and doing this research, and you really start finding out the truth on things, and you find out how so many other people are putting stuff out there that they're not even bothering to see as if it's true before they put it out, then, really dig, if you care about something, and, look into it before you get all crazy, about it, or let it mess up your day, because as far as that, Antichrist is a very scary word, and you put that up there in the right font on the right picture, and, get a million views on it. Okay. But I can tell you this, good versus evil is the oldest war there has ever been. And as far as I know, a lot of bad things happen along the way, but inevitably in the end, good wins over. And it wins every time one of us gets up every day and keeps moving forward, and keeps doing the positive things that they believe are important for their own square foot of real estate, for their life, through the darkness and through the hard times. They keep on going, and they spread that light. And that's a win in my book. So that's what we're going to do in 2023. We're going to eat the good cookie, and we're going to smile, and we're going to change our vibration. So there you go. Yep. There you go. Yep. And your light for protection, everything else. That's right. Absolutely. Hold on. Oh, you're welcome, Bobby. Lots and lots of love to you. Your family, your mom, your brother, and everybody that's suffering. We send all that good light to you. And I predict that the light is absolutely going to help, and that the energy is going to help. And we're here for you, babe. Okay, you're not alone. Nobody here is alone. We're all here together. And as far as Nostradamus, I think it's fun. I think it's wild. Some of the things he predicted, that one with the jousting was like my favorite. But here's my question. You tell these people that if you joust, you're going to get a jousting, what do you call the thing? Not rod. What are they called? A jousting post or whatever in your eye. And you're so arrogant, you go, ha ha, that's not going to happen to me. I wasn't going to joust, but now I'm going to do it just to show how arrogant I am. And then you get a thing in your eye. So, do you see what I'm saying? What are you doing? I mean, could he have changed that and said, you know what? I'm just not going to joust. Lance, thank you. I'm just not going to joust. It's that easy. If a medium came up to me at the Kroger, over in the dairy aisle, we're all looking at butter and eggs and going, can you imagine how much this butter, this piece of special chickens here? You see the price of these eggs? And then all of a sudden the medium says to me, you know what? You're going to be in a green car and, you're going to lose control of the car and hit a tree. And I'm going to say, ha ha, you're stupid. I don't have a green car. My car breaks down. The person that picks me up has a green car. I'm not getting in the car. I'm not getting in the car. Change it. Change it. Don't joust. Okay? Little things like that. Don't joust. Because I know just as many stories, the opposite. Good mediums, good psychics, good people getting messages from the other side, everything else. Oh, this is your year in the next 6 months. When am I going to find love? Okay, great. Sit at home every night. You're eating, your box of Kleenex and you're watching Lifetime channel and you're not going anywhere. And this medium tells you you're going to meet your person in the next 6 months. Well, for 3 or 4 months in a row, what's a Kroger? Kroger's a grocery store. It's a Shop and Stop, a Publix, a Wegmans. It's a grocery store. So you just, they tell you that that's when you're going to meet your love. Now you've been invited to a party, you had the office party, you had, no, it's okay. Well, it's, Piggly Wiggly. It's just one of those. But, you've been invited to this and to that. And each time you said, no, I'm not going to go. I'm not going to go. Well, this woman goes back and sees the psychic again. Keep in mind the whole time bitching that she wasted the $20 that this psychic sat down for an hour and a half with them. They deserve to, their time is worth money too, I mean, honest to God, it's a trade. So she's bitching that the $20 I should do because I didn't find my love. You sat home eating bonbons with your box of Kleenex watching Lifetime. You turned down every single thing that you were invited to go and do. That's why you didn't meet the guy, because you stayed home. You changed your future. You can change it the other way too. Do you see? Does that make sense? It works both ways. So if it works both ways, I think a lot of these things are just also warnings. If we don't get our shit together, this is going to happen. If we're not careful who we follow, this might happen. We kind of know that anyway. You got to make good choices. You got to be the best you can be. And you also have to be somebody you want to sleep with. What does that mean? I sleep with me every night. I have to be the last person to think of what I did that day. I have to be the last person that I hear say what my plans are for tomorrow. Well, we all make plans. They don't always work out, but we have little plans that we can work and we can maneuver and we can move. We can go with the flow, or we can stand our ground. And those are all choices. And we have the choice to fear or not to fear. I choose no fear. What do I have to be afraid of? There it is. I'm going to go with what Daniel Brinkley always says. He says, I don't fear death. I don't want to, I don't want to suffer to die, but I don't fear dying. And it's really like the worst they can do, other than taking away people that I love. So, this past couple of years, I've lost quite a few. Quite a few. And I try to remember them with as much love as I possibly can. And I still talk to them to this day. But I've seen some shit. I've lived through things that people it sound like your worst nightmare. So I'm going to choose happiness and positivity for 2023. And they can scream and yell all they want. My fear's on the front porch drinking a very strong cocktail in a very tight straitjacket. And I'm going to keep it right there and keep my eye on it. And I don't care what Nostradamus or or Sylvia Browne or anybody says, because if those people were sitting here, they'd be telling you the same thing I would. These things are like the ghost of Christmas Future. When Scrooge said, "Are these the things that will be or can be?" And Scrooge changed it in one night. We can change it in one night too. We can change it in a year, one day and one night at a time. So we don't need all the spirits to come to us and tell us. We know what we need to change, and we know what we need to make better, and we know what we can really focus on and put it out there in the world, to put positive out there. Right? Let me see what this says. Hold on one second. I had my palm read. She hit everything on the head. She also said my aura was a dark color, and she flat out says she wasn't going to tell me what it was. I can tell you this right now, Johnny. Auras change every day. I would say in some cases, multiple times throughout the day. Auras are a reflection of your vibration. Does that make sense? So say somebody comes up and says, "Oh, you got a dark patch in your aura." Okay, well, maybe you have an upset stomach, or maybe you have, a sore, like a dislocated shoulder or something that's healing. That's going to come out darker. If you're sad, you're going to have darker colors. You're going to have this kind of thing, but that can change and fluctuate with your mood, with your disposition, with your vibration, with your character at the time, and your health. Does that make sense? So if somebody comes and says you have a dark aura, that doesn't mean that you're constantly, it's like a mood ring, kind of. It is very much like the whole thing just changes, So if somebody comes up and says you have a dark aura, or you have this or whatever, it might be just for that day or that time or something you're going through. It's not a permanent thing. And that too can change with vibration and with light. So there you go. That's not really, I'm no expert on it, but I guarantee you there are people in here that are, and people that we're going to have on. Don't let that get you, because again, that's also something that and I don't know this psychic, I don't know this, medium. And I would like to say that most mediums are very reliable as far as, their character and everything else. But there are some, I'd be remiss if I didn't say, for sure, are charlatans. I mean, it's older than, prostitution, I think, isn't it? Which came first, the psychics or the prostitutes? Does anybody here know the answer to that? Is it like the chicken or the egg? I would say probably right around it. Well, it depends on how you look at it, because the psychic could have gone and said, "You're going to be a prostitute," and then that happened because they influenced them and they thought that that was their future and it couldn't be changed, and that's how prostitution happened. This is we could have cracked the case right there. All because they didn't realize that they could change their future. They didn't take it as a warning and to go, do you see where I'm going with this? It sounds silly, but think about it. So there you go. A little Nostradamus, a little Leonard Nimoy, a little Cacey, a little Dixon, a little Sylvia Browne. I always thought Sylvia Browne got the bad end of the stick there. She did so good for so long, and at the very end, everything just attacked her. Why do you think everything attacked her like that? She was putting out a lot of light, right? You can look back again. You can put anybody under a microscope and you're going to see things, but you're going to take 35, 40 years of her doing the best she could to help ghosts and people understand why their house was haunted, and, helping Jeanie out at the Toys R Us, and helping, people throughout. Of course, yes, she charged. And yes, she charged more towards the end, because the bigger you get, the more overhead you have. And, you got an office, you're going to charge when you got workers, you got to pay them. You got somebody answer your phone, they want to get paid. Okay. So there's things like that. But then there's people that take it way, way, way to the other end. It's $500 for 10 minutes. Yeah. Okay. No, because I know people that will sit in, a waiting room somewhere in a or coffee, a diner or something, and give you just the same type of read. It's just who you meet and at the time that you need to hear, and your consciousness is able to receive the information. People your loved ones will find people to come through and give you little things that you're ready, little mile markers, but you just have to accept it. Not everybody is a charlatan, not everybody's out to get you, but they're definitely out there. So you just got to make good choices again. Okay. So tomorrow night with Steve, we're going to hit on some of the fun stuff. And I love talking to my buddy. I can't believe it's been a week. And I'm trying to get with Lynn, and we're going to do some cool stuff and try to get some, her friends on here. This week has been just something, coming out of the holidays and everything, as busy as I've been at work. So I was really very glad to, chill out a little bit. And today and yesterday, I worked on this for you guys, some of this fun stuff, in here. And, trying to get some, positive, predictions too, the temple prostitutes. Yeah. I mean, I'm saying you're the psychic or the prostitute, the oldest professions. But, kingdoms were made on, of what they said. I thought it was so sad. One of the worst ways I saw it put out was in the movie 300 with the oracles. I mean, how awful. Can you imagine living that life? And again, with Nostradamus, so much I've watched over the past 4 days, he really had this time where he was just wandering, where he didn't quite know what to do with himself. And at that time, that's when things started coming to him. It's almost like he hit a wall, a mental wall, and things started opening up. It was a tragedy. And how many times have we heard that with somebody had a tragedy, or they had a near-death experience, or they had an accident, they came back with abilities. And I think there's something true to that, where you can, if you go kind of to the other side a little bit, you bring a little bit of that back with you. And I think tragedy and trauma can cause those things as well, not just physical, but mental. And it could cause you to crack or force you to go into that next level of consciousness, where I think you were probably always had the abilities, but for some reason they were woke up. And I think it comes out of necessity as well. A lot of times, I've heard that with people where they were in such a traumatic experience. It was like a necessity, and they just got sharper, and things started to come. So again, it's that exercising your abilities, and I think also using them well. Look at how easily people were influenced. I mean, Hitler was into everything, and I mean everything. Just from, whether it was a religious object, or if it was a curse, it was the Vril Society, if it was, the occulted things, or, everything. I mean, the man just didn't, across the board. And when they told him that about Nostradamus, boy, he really took off, So again, what was fueling what? Interesting to look at. Don't let it worry you if you see it on the social media and everything else. Yeah, very scary. No joke. I mean, that's a deep rabbit hole there, Linda. That bell in the bell-shaped object that showed up in Pennsylvania. Do you remember that one? I think there was an old Unsolved Mysteries on that one, where they saw it being taken away, and then they denied that all this was going on. So again, there's a lot of things that people try to hide from us, and we dig it up and we put it out there in the light, and we say, look at this, and then, people that are just, walking around and don't care, and they're falling in holes and falling in fountains, and, putting their stuff on TikTok and everything else. It's an amazing thing to watch over the past 60 years that's happened, to people. But Nostradamus also called and said around this time, we would have almost a zombie type invasion of people, human beings becoming very zombie-like. And I think in a lot of ways that one has come true. So, is there something in there worth saving? Oh, yeah. The light's still on in some, but that just means that you got to make your light a little bit brighter to make up the difference, because we can do that. And we can change things. We can change the future. And you most certainly can manifest a positive aura around you and change your things, because I have seen people in horrible situations and their light, they just carried it with them. And it was just something totally different. Look at people that go into prison and just put their minds down and come out lawyers, or they use the time to work out and get an education or whatever. I mean, it's all in how you do things and how you carry yourself. And we can do it. We can do it, Linda. We absolutely can. We can change this and push it right away. And you start with yourself and get your aura all bright. And the light just goes with you. It just goes with you. We're going to get through this, and we're going to get it through together. And we're going to be back here tomorrow night. Mr. McGill, you've done it again. Yeah. And we'll be back here tomorrow night to talk some more fun stuff and see what Steve's got up his old flannel sleeve, the old rattlesnake. I miss him. And I hope to see you all here too. Please put the word out there. We miss Ted. If you see him in a chat again, please let him know. And any of our other people that might not know that we missed him tonight. And thank you guys for coming in tonight and spending this time with me and learning a little bit about this. I don't know how you guys feel about Nostradamus, but if you have a prediction on the way out that something that always just got you, that you just thought was just, wow, bang on amazing. That Titanic one gets me. And the Nostradamus with the jousting, the king, and a couple of other ones that he did that were kind of spot on. Sylvia and the COVID, man, that was amazing. And this book right here, I don't know if you have it, but it's called The End of Days: Predictions and Prophecies About the End of the World. I want to tell you a little bit about that, and then we're out of here. Please keep in mind that I believe, and this is what I believe. I am not a scholar. I am not a historian. I am certainly not a theologian. I am not well-versed in every religion and culture around the world. Just not. Just my little world here and what I've observed. But I will tell you this, that a lot of predictions have been made about the end of the world. I tend to look at it a little bit more like the elders do. I do think the world is changing. I think we're coming into a time of ascension, and that is almost like an ending of something and the beginning of another. Certainly the way the world is. I don't know how long it's going to take, but we're definitely in it. We're definitely in it. I think we hit a lift of consciousness probably somewhere around 2019. That's when I really felt it going. There's growing pains. Yep, the Hopi. Yes, absolutely. Every Native American culture, really, I think most indigenous cultures have this story. We're in it. So when you hear end of something, end of the world, end of this, end of that, it's also the beginning of. People like to focus on the end of a time, the end of an era, the end of a civilization even. I am thinking it's an ascension and it's a beginning of a new way. That's going to take growing pains, and I think we've been going through them. And I don't think it's going to go back to the way it was. Now, what does that mean? Well, it depends on who you talk to. If you talk to Native Americans, they're most of the stories are basically to a point of a great cleansing. Okay, what does that mean? An ending of something, a beginning of something else. So, yeah, paradigm shift, absolutely. Absolutely. I think it's all those things. I think it's all those things. And I also think it's a crescendo of this spiritual warfare. But here's the thing about spiritual warfare. You're fighting it on your own every day until you get into a group where everybody agrees that you're fighting it together. And when you start to agree that you're fighting it together, it gets a little easier. It gets a little happier. It gets a little lighter. It gets you more energetic. And that's what we just did tonight. We're going to fight it together with our light. So turn your lights on. Turn them all the way up to 11. And if they start to get a little dim, come back in here Sunday, Monday nights, and we're going to take a look at the darkness, and we're going to go, because it's been going on for thousands of years, and people have been living through it and dying through it and going back on the other side and going, how'd I do? Doggone it, I'm going around again because I can do it better. So I'm going in again. We must be out of our minds. But we did it. We came back here for this time. So it was for a reason. Don't let anybody get you down. Don't let anybody drag you down into their fear. And if all you can do is start singing, Jeremiah was a bullfrog, was a good friend of mine. I never understood a single word he said, but I helped him to drink his wine. Just do that. And that crazy will get them to leave you alone because it can't stand to be in the light. I love you all. Thank you so much. Glad you enjoyed the music tonight. It's a little something different coming out of the holidays, a little mystical, magical. And I love you all. See you tomorrow night. And I predict we're all going to be here with a wonderful old rattlesnake, Steve Stockton, talking about this stuff again. And I will try very hard to have that documentary for you. Might start a little early tomorrow. So I want to get as much information on this as I can to you guys. Love you all. Thank you so much. Keep your feet under the covers. Keep your closet door shut. Because there are things that go bump in the night. Good night, everybody. Bye.